Thank you. As I said, we're Ten2Two. For those who don't know about us, we have been going since 2007. We are experts in flexible and part-time recruitment and consulting, and we've got a wealth of experience in this area. And we want to share it with you because benefits is a hot topic. It's a really important topic. We do get lots of questions about it when we work with clients. So we will follow up with a copy of this. So please don't worry about writing too much down. I'm just the co-host, so I'll introduce you to Jo, who is my lovely colleague and fellow director, and she'll be leading this. And pop any questions in the Q&A at the bottom, and I'll either answer them as we're going through. Jo may cover it in the presentation, or we can cover it off in the last 10 minutes as a Q&A session. So we've only got 30 minutes. We're going to cover off a lot. So without further ado, over to you, Jo. Yeah, just pop any questions there for me.
Thank you, Tracy. Welcome, everybody, and thank you for giving us your time today. As Tracy said, it's a really, it's a huge topic, benefits. So today is a snapshot, really, and it's very, very targeted at our core audience, which is SMEs. So hopefully that is useful for you guys. We're excited to talk to you today about the real value of benefits and what it means for you as a business and what it means for you as your employees. We all know that benefits are really crucial. It's whether we're offering the right ones that we really want to sort of drill down on today and go into a little bit more detail about what those right ones might or might not be. So without further ado, we'll crack on and get rid of this awful cover photo. She says, and then her screen's not working. There we go. So as Tracy said, we've got a lot to get through. We've tried to split it out into bite-sized little chunks. And if any of it doesn't make any sense or you want to follow up, then we are here to chat through. We ourselves are not benefits advisors, but obviously because of what we do, we see a lot of trends. We get a lot of feedback. We've got a lot of anecdotal evidence as to what's working and what's not. So first of all, why are employee benefits important? The different types of employee benefits, what benefits matter most, what's typically offered, why they matter, Claire's story, our own observations, some top tips, and then a chance for Q&A. So a lot to get through. I will be talking at record speed, so you might want to slow down when you rewatch it tomorrow. So why are benefits important? If you're like me and you've been working since the dinosaurs were around, then you'll remember a time when it was all about your salary and that was really all that mattered. Benefits were a kind of nice to have. The landscape is very, very different now. And yes, salary is important, but candidates look a lot more, or employees look a lot more holistically at the entire package that a business has to offer. So we know that benefits improve job satisfaction and retention. So we've got some statistics up on the screen for you there. Not only do they help with job satisfaction and retention, but they also help massively with attracting talent. And as we all know, that is a struggle. At the moment, it is really, really key that you're making sure that your business can attract the very, very best talent. So having a really attractive benefit package across the hard and soft benefits is really, really key. So different types of benefits. Now we've tried to split this into two kind of key areas. So we've got your hard benefits. They tend to be those that are represented contractually or in some sort of documentation. And then later we'll come on to the soft benefits, which are more kind of cultural elements to your business, but are still very, very important and are seen as beneficial to employees or to prospective employees. So I'm going to run through these. Health and wellness. This covers a whole range of different types of benefit, but the one that we're seeing being particularly important at the moment is private medical cover. Many SMEs see this as something that is out of their reach. We would encourage you to really investigate that. There are lots of different levels and different types of private medical cover. And we're seeing a lot of candidates who won't even consider looking at a role that isn't offering some sort of private medical. It doesn't need to be an all singing, all dancing comprehensive package. It needs to be something that is seen to be valuable, especially with the waiting lists on the NHS at the moment. People are really, really keen to make sure that they secure access to some sort of private medical support. Mental health support is becoming more and more common. So you'll have employee assistance programs, you might have access to therapies, those sorts of things. This isn't just a nice to have. It doesn't just say, oh, we care about you, pat on the head. This is a real business essential. You know, people are suffering from stress. They are suffering from all sorts of mental health concerns, and having access to these pathways is really, really crucial, because sometimes people just don't know where to turn. So even if you're signposting them to something that seems relatively low level, that seems quite minimal, it can be incredibly valuable for people. And these are very cost effective, these EAP programs. They can be incredibly cheap per head. Wellness programs come under this heading as well. They might include gym memberships, yoga classes, at your desk massages, all sorts of things. These, again, can be seen as a little bit fluffy, but actually they are incredibly valuable to people. Gym memberships have been around for a long time as an employee perk. And I think that they are probably growing again in popularity. You know, people take their health very, very seriously. And obviously it has an impact for you as a business. The better health you can keep your employees in, the less sick days. It's a no-brainer. Flexible working arrangements. Tracy and I could talk about this till the cows come home, so I'm going to try and keep it as brief as possible. Remote working is still the big topic post-pandemic. There still hasn't been a kind of blanket approach agreed on by everybody, but in the main, remote working to some degree has been accepted by a lot of businesses. We've got a stat saying 67% of UK companies will offer some work from home arrangements. Now, whether that's on a hybrid basis or on an all the time basis, it doesn't break those statistics down for us, but people having the option is really important to them these days. Flexible hours as well, and that doesn't just mean part-time, that does mean people having some form of control over when it is they're delivering the work. So maybe it's a later start so that they can drop their kids off at school, maybe it's an earlier finish so they can go and check in on their grandma that they're helping to care for later on that day. Those sorts of small adjustments can be so meaningful for employees and don't have to have a detrimental effect to the day-to-day running of the business. Financial benefits. Now, pension contributions at a base level are, I don't know if they're legislation. Are they legislation? I should know this.
Yeah.
But
yeah, statutory.
They are now statutory. There we go. We're finding that employees really like enhanced contributions, even if their employee contribution needs to be enhanced as well. People are taking their pensions very, very seriously now, with good reason. So anything that you can do to enhance that statutory pension is very, very valuable for people. Bonuses and profit sharing comes under this banner as well. Bonuses are not new, but the amount of businesses offering profit shares does seem to be rising. That could be in the form of equity, it could be in the form of a bonus structure, depending on company results. Those sorts of schemes really add to employees' feel of ownership within the organisation, and they will have an intrinsic impact on the level of engagement that your employees have within the business. Now, we're not saying it's possible or practical for every business to enter into these sorts of schemes, but if it is something that you can investigate, there's huge amounts of evidence to show that they can be incredibly valuable for people. Salary sacrifice is something that's on the way up as well, and with an upcoming budget talking about us all paying more tax, I'm sure that everybody's got their ear to the ground as how they reduce the amount of tax they're paying. So a salary sacrifice would be a scheme like Cycle to Work or childcare vouchers, where the benefit is paid for through the payroll, often resulting in a tax saving for the employee. Again, these are low cost to set up. There are some administration burdens in place, but they are relatively simple to run, and can be very, very important and valuable to employees. Work-life benefits, work-life balance benefits. We're firing through these. I'm out of breath already. Paid time off. So obviously there is a statutory amount of annual leave that needs to be offered for anybody who's on a permanent contract with you. Outside of that, we're seeing a lot of businesses offer your birthday off, or mental health days. I remember the first time I was introduced to a mental health day, and it was called a duvet day. And it was probably the most exciting benefit in my contract. I just absolutely loved it. These are becoming more and more commonplace, and are seen as very valuable for people. I know, in fact, I'm sure there's evidence out there saying that it actually decreases the amount of sick time that people have when they do have access to mental health days. Parental leave, this is a hot topic in the newspapers at the moment. I don't know if anybody saw the Thierry Henry with a baby strapped to his chest in the papers this morning. There is a big push for an increase on paid paternity leave. There are certain statutory levels that people need to meet, but any businesses that are offering enhanced pay and leave for family commitments or other commitments as well. You know, there are all sorts of people out there campaigning for bereavement leave. The list is endless, but really thinking about what it is that's going to be valuable and what you as a business are going to be able to manage and maintain across your employee base, and things that you're happy to commit to as well. So rather than having these as soft kind of discussion when it happens benefits, things that you can actually write down in a policy and commit to and really verbalise amongst your employees. Career development and education. Now, this has always been really important for people to know that there is a career path ahead of them and that there are training opportunities. Some businesses are going as far as making these contractual. They're offering development bonuses or development funds into their contracts. It might be that you have £500 to put towards a particular course that you want to do. It might be something that's less financially linked and more linked to your particular discipline. So you might have the opportunity to study SEMA, for example, if you're following a finance career. Sponsorship for education is a crucial benefit, and nearly 60% of employees have said that it's something that would be a deciding factor for them when looking at an opportunity. Mentorship programs are something that are becoming more and more popular as well. So being able to pair people up either within the business or within your sector with a mentor. It doesn't have to be one of your employees. It could be an external coach, somebody who they can learn and develop from, and have a really close working relationship with. Really adds to people's sense of belonging and feeling as though they're being invested in. Unique and personalised benefits. There are all sorts of platforms out there that will give you access to a way of personalising your benefits package. Again, there is a cost involved in these, often not as much as you would think. And employees being able to have a pick and mix of what benefits work for them is an incredibly popular way of engaging people, because they have control over what it is they're using their personal budget for. Some of the interesting things that we've seen come up more usually in a pick and mix style rather than blanket are pet insurance, especially post-pandemic. We've all got a dog. So lots of businesses are offering pet insurance now. Sabbaticals, these come and go in terms of popularity, and I'm not sure if it's a social thing or if it's to do with where people are in their careers, but having the opportunity to apply for a sabbatical is something that might be really, really key for some people, for all different reasons. I was actually reading a really interesting article the other day where somebody asked for a sabbatical because they actually wanted to help their cousin by covering his role with another business while he went on paternity leave. So all sorts of conflicts of interest there, but it just shows that you never know what's going on in somebody's life that means that they might need some extended time away from work, and for their role to be protected when they come back. Charitable giving and volunteering, we think, comes under this banner as well. Charitable giving and volunteering is a very, very personal thing. We've all got charities that we feel very passionately about. Some businesses will have a charity that they support as a business. Some will offer out the opportunity for individuals to nominate a charity, and go and work for them or make a contribution through the business. Here at 10 to 2, we've got volunteering days, and it's something that I feel really passionately about. Not only are we lucky enough to work with some amazing charities, but being given the opportunity to go and really help on a hands-on basis is something that makes me very happy. Technology and equipment. Again, businesses do have a requirement to provide employees with a certain level of technology. Some businesses have gone above and beyond that, so they might do entire home setups for people who are working from home, including a contribution towards desks, chairs, so on and so forth. Some businesses will offer a cash amount on an annual basis or a regular basis for people to go and upgrade their own personal technology. So that can be very appealing to people. If you're the type of person who always wants the most up-to-date phone, you know, if your business contributes £500 a year to it, it could be an incredibly attractive benefit for you. Again, all of these things, they feel quite big. They feel like they're going to be a lot of money for a business to enter into, but we would encourage you to really think about what works for you, and investigate the costs involved with them, because you might be pleasantly surprised. They might not be as expensive as you expect. So those are the kind of hard benefits that we've identified. This list is by no means exhaustive. And the other thing that we'd encourage you to do is to think about who you are as a business and what benefits you might be able to offer that are unique to you. So if you're an FMCG, you know, a discount on the product that you produce. If you're a insurance provider, then obviously, you know, a discount on policies throughout your own suite of insurance. Softer benefits. Now, some of these, as we said, come under the kind of culture banner, but we want to encourage you to really consider them as benefits and really shout about them in the same way that you would do if you introduced a private health scheme, because they are equally important to people, and they really do make or break people's decision making about whether to come and join you or even whether to stay with you. So again, these are things that Tracy and I could talk about till the cows come home. So we're going to bullet point them relatively quickly. Please do ask any questions that you have, or get in touch with us if you want to talk about any of these in any more detail. Clear objectives. We all know that it's much easier for us to do our jobs if we know what it is that we're aiming towards, what it is that's expected of us, and if it's clearly communicated what those objectives in place are. So making sure that there is a clear line of communication all the way through the business, and with individuals about what the businesses and that individual's objectives are is incredibly important. We've got a statistic here saying that studies show that employees who feel aligned with their company's goals are 4.6 times more likely to be engaged at work. Open and accepting culture, an inclusive environment where everybody feels valued. It's a non-negotiable these days. You know, it's something that every business needs to have. You are not going to attract the top talent if you do not demonstrate that you have an open and accepting culture. According to Deloitte, 83% of millennials are more engaged in an inclusive work environment than not. That is a huge percentage. I mean, it makes it something that you just have to address if you don't already have it. We're sure you already do.
Jo, and just to say, although that was about millennials, you know, I had 2 candidate screening calls this morning for people who were sort of 20 years into their career, and both conversations, and this is normal, as you know, talked about the right move, the right culture. That's what's their focus now, the right culture. You know, that comes up in almost, I think, every conversation we have. And if you think typically a lot of our audience are those sort of people with 15, 20 years experience. So it's across the board.
Absolutely. And I mean, I'd say it's probably the most important thing that people consider when coming through us, and I'm sure other agencies or direct, above and beyond almost anything else, is the culture that they're walking into. Good management, so not micro or blame driven, etc. This is always very, very difficult, but we would encourage you to make sure that your people managers are well trained and well guided in how to then manage people. Lots of our clients are micro businesses, and it might be one person managing a whole load of people. Once you get to a slightly bigger size and you need to kind of let go of those reins, then it's really important to make sure that, again, that culture is there so that good management can be quite natural throughout the organisation. No one thrives when they're being micromanaged or blamed. So really having that element of kind of trust and open communication is incredibly important. And a lot of that comes from good recruitment processes, which we could talk about lots. On the job development, we talked before in the hard benefits section about training and opportunities. That doesn't have to be formalized. It can be slightly kind of softer and on the job and ongoing. And that is really important for people as well, to feel as though they are constantly growing and developing. Being given access to shadow somebody else within another department or within a slightly more senior role to them, being given opportunity to be involved in projects that they might not otherwise be involved in. All of these sort of on the job, day-to-day opportunities are really, really key, and are something that, you know, really large employers do as part of their succession planning, almost without thinking about it. But it is something that can be shouted about. And I think within an SME, there's sometimes the misconception that, you know, you're there, you do a job, you go home. So really making sure that people understand that there are a plethora of opportunities to learn and develop, both kind of put done sideways across the business, is really important. Career path discussions, again, making sure that it's something that is open and talked about, making sure that people know where their career could go within the organisation realistically, and making sure that you're listening to the ambitions of people who are engaged within the business. So this is not just with your current employees, but people who are applying to you. Again, you know, Tracy and I have conversations every day with candidates, and one of the questions they'll ask is, what could this role mean for me in the future? Or, you know, what's the career progression for this opportunity? People want to know what's next, and where the role might take them. So that is another really, really important benefit that you can talk about. Organised socials. We had a great conversation about this yesterday, Tracy and I. Organised socials. This doesn't have to be Friday drinks at the pub. And in fact, sometimes you don't want Friday drinks at the pub. Some of the best organisations that we deal with put this out to their current employees, either to manage and organise themselves, maybe with a budget, maybe with a bit of guidance, or at least ask the question as to what's going to work for them. You're never going to be able to please all the people all of the time. But if you get a sense check as to what your current employees might want from an organised social, then the chances are you'll be pleasing most of the people most of the time. These can be all sorts of things. Maybe it's everybody going out for lunch together on a Friday. Maybe it's a sporting activity at the weekend. There's no right or wrong answer. What is wrong is deciding what you want and going ahead with it, no matter what response you're getting from your team. But people are keen to be social with their colleagues in a way that isn't going to be difficult for them. So if you employ a lot of working parents, for example, then, you know, being at the pub at 5 o'clock on a Friday afternoon might be a little bit difficult for them. Whereas taking an hour out of their working day to go for a pizza down the road might be a little bit easier. Obviously, with people working remotely and on hybrid arrangements, there's all sorts of logistics that need to be taken into consideration. But again, throw the question out to people, you know, don't be afraid to ask people what they want or what they would like.
Jo, we've got about 5 minutes of the talky bit before we get
oh goodness me. Okay. I'm sorry, there's so much to go through still.
I know.
Clubs as well, you know, employees often start their own little clubs. I know it's difficult in SMEs, often there's not enough of you to really put a club together, but maybe there's a theme that a lot of you enjoy. Baking, maybe it's, I don't know, chess, whatever it is. Those sorts of joint and shared interests can be really really welcoming for people, and people can really enjoy spending that time and having those joint interests across the team. Involvement in special projects, again, this comes to hand in hand with the on-the-job development. If someone shows an interest in being involved in wider or specific projects, see if you're able to offer them that opportunity. You know, don't be afraid of giving them the chance to be involved in something wider across the business. And ask for input and feedback. So across all of these benefits, we would strongly encourage you to throw the question out there to your employees. You can caveat it with, this might not happen, but if that makes you feel more comfortable, if you don't want to kind of raise people's expectations, but find out what your current employees would like. You know, if actually you think private medical really isn't that important to them, just double check, just ask the question. They'll understand if it doesn't come to fruition. You can explain the reasons, I'm sure, but make them feel listened to. We're going to run way over time, I'm afraid.
We might do the questions on an email afterwards, perhaps.
We might.
If we can. So let's, you got, if it's just come up to one.
Okay, so we'll fire through. So we've done a little bit of research to give you guys some stats. This is current employee preferences. So what benefits matter the most to people? And as you'll see at the very top there, 70% pension contributions. So I think we've all got half an eye on what's going to happen in the future. We're all a little bit uncertain as to whether there'll be a state pension by the time we reach that age. Let's hope there is. But pension contributions are very important, closely followed by flexible working, which just becomes more and more important to people the more it becomes a talked about subject. Healthcare and wellness, 50%. I'd say anecdotally, 50% is an underestimate of how important that is. I think most people that I speak with now have the expectation that there'll be some sort of healthcare cover as part of the benefits. And then you'll see other benefits and management style and culture are often noted there. So what do we see SMEs typically offering? So auto-enrollment, 90% compliance. Obviously, this is on its way to 100% compliance across the board. This is just auto-enrollment we're talking about, not enhanced. But even still, even if you can just get that up and running, it's really, really key for people. Flexible working, 45% offer formal policies. So this is something that is in writing that you are generally offering across the board, not just a contingency basis. 40% health insurance and wellness programs. Again, that 40% isn't broken down as to which ones are private medical, which ones are slightly kind of softer wellness programs. But that is the percentage of SMEs that offer something in that spectrum. And again, we think that that's probably growing, and we think, to be honest, it will need to grow considerably over the next few years. And again, most SMEs are very good at offering training and development opportunities, and there is some engagement with salary sacrifice. This is a growing trend, and more products and services are being offered through this way. So why are they more important than you think? Improves retention, attracts top talent. I think we've talked about that a lot throughout today already. Reputation is something we haven't really touched on. Obviously, the more you can talk about what it is that you offer and the reasons that you offer it, the more it's going to enhance your reputation as an employer of choice. Well-being, the more you can do the more you can boost the well-being of your employees, the better return you're going to get, even if it just means that they're actually working more because they're not getting sick so much. And then performance. Satisfied employees perform better. So this is a quick little story about our Claire. Claire was a candidate of ours who came to us in a 40-hour-a-week office-based role, and she sadly had been denied her flexible working request. She was therefore very, very keen to move to another role. We were able to support her in that move, and it was interesting to see that the adjustments that were made through her new employer were not massive. Actually, they weren't hugely different from what she was offered with her current employer, but they made all the difference to Claire. So again, as you'll see there, she's still got statutory benefits. She was given a training allowance. She had a slight reduction in hours, but the key thing for her was hybrid working, meaning that she could just flex that working arrangement ever so slightly and get rid of the commute a couple of days a week. An additional 3 days leave at holiday that wasn't taken out of her at Christmas, sorry, that wasn't taken out of her holiday entitlement. And she was happy as Larry, you know, she was absolutely delighted. I think throughout the recruitment process as well, there was a feeling of the culture being a little bit more open, a little bit more willing to discuss things rather than an outright no, which I think she felt from her previous employer, that it had been there is no discussion here, the answer's no, that's it. But as you'll see, they're not huge changes. You know, these aren't thousands of pounds a year commitments that you're making to huge policies. These are small tweaks that don't impact a business a huge amount, but for Claire and for people like Claire mean the absolute world, and mean that they can run their lives in a much, much more manageable way, and therefore are going to be better employees for you.
Yeah.
So things that we've come across, I mean, we've touched on this throughout the conversation today. It's important to realise that something that you might think is a huge benefit isn't necessarily going to resonate with everybody that you're speaking with. So again, take the temperature of your current employees, you know, do a bit of research as to what's popular and what's not out there. Make sure that you're offering the right benefits. And again, if you've got access to some sort of benefits platform where it can be pick and mix, then that's the job done for you. You know, you can set your budget. People can just choose what it is that they want from that pick and mix option. Obviously, you don't want to be spending money on things that people don't value, so it's always good to review your benefits on a regular basis. Make sure that, you know, what you're offering is being taken up. Make sure that you're not just throwing money at a scheme or a policy that people aren't engaging with. And if people aren't engaging with it, just check that they know about it. You know, make sure that you're communicating it effectively. It might be that they are interested, but they don't know that it exists. So that communication, as with everything to do with your employees, is always really important.
Yeah.
Don't forget there are some non-costly benefits. So flexibility, working hours, holiday, clear objectives, good management style, all of those kind of cultural elements that we talked about. Those are really, really important benefits to people, and they do not have to cost you an absolute fortune. In fact, some of them are completely free, and just take a little bit of internal tweaking. Research your team's preferences. I think I've done that one to death already. And use flexible suppliers for choice. So a little kind of cheat sheet for you. Ask your employees, start small, check if salary sacrifice would work, communicate clearly, and review regularly. I think even if you just had this one slide printed out on your desk and just every now and again referred back to it and made sure you were doing each of these 5 steps, you'd be in a really, really good place. We don't expect you all to go and sign up with AXA tomorrow, but you know, we would love it if you could just spend some time thinking about what it is that you're offering as an organisation. And we'd love to say that we could guarantee that it's going to improve your ability to attract talent, and hopefully retain the talent you've already got. Right, those last few slides were sped through, so I'm sorry, everybody.
No, that was really helpful, Jo. Thank you. I think just to add to what you've just said, so it can go either way. So we've been on the end of a situation where we've had a candidate who's had two choices, and we've either lost them to another client or they've come to us, they've chosen our client because of the package, because of the benefits. It's a big thing now. You know, the best candidates will get through to the end and they might well be in a process with someone else. It happens regularly. So we can't stress how important it is to feel that you've got the right kind of package and benefits. So thank you, Jo. Go on.
I'm just going to say, I think if you're able to be, then being as open-minded and available for a conversation is, you know, it's often demonstrative of the way that you communicate with people, and people want to be listened to. So even if you can't say yes to everything that's on their wish list, if you're happy to listen to what's on their wish list and give it some consideration, that will go in your favour.
Yeah, absolutely. So I've had a couple of direct questions here to me, so I'm just going to run through these. I think we've got time for a couple, and then anything else, if you want to email us afterwards, Jo will pop up our details on the slide. Email us direct. More than happy to chat to you separately about any questions you might have. So this is a common one. I've heard some companies offering unlimited holidays. How on earth can an organisation afford that? So Jo, do you want me to do? Do you want to me to go tackle that one?
Well, I think we've both got clients who offer this as a benefit. So you start, and I'm sure I'll dip in.
Yeah. So from experience and feedback with my particular client, it's rarely overused. I think you'll find that they fall within the 21 to 25 basic days anyway. It's managed in respect of the employers can request extra paid holiday, but they have to be working to performance. They have to be delivering their job. And so it's no skin off the nose of the client if they take extra holiday, if they're delivering exactly what they're in to do, their job is, they're paid to do. You're not going to miss them if they take the odd extra day here or there, but they're delivering. So actually the cost of the business is nothing as long as they're delivering. I don't know, Jo, if that's your experience and feedback as well.
Absolutely, exactly that. My client who offer unlimited holiday, make sure it's very, very clear that as long as you're meeting your objectives, then there is no limit on the amount of holiday that you can take. It does still need to be processed through the relevant approval channels. And actually, they find that the caliber of candidate that they tend to recruit, I mean, yes, they might take slightly more than they would do if they were on a 25-day a year basis. Maybe they'll take 30, but they don't abuse it. They are hardworking professionals, have pride in their job. And knowing that they have that available to them, knowing that there is access to more holiday should they require it, is really valuable to them. You know, the candidates that I've placed there are really excited about joining a business who offer that kind of flexibility.
That with that client as well, we've recruited a number of people, and everybody I speak to and put forward for that client love it. They've loved their meet. You know, they are keen to join that company. So that's a really good example. I think we've got literally a minute, so I'm going to do really quick one, and then we'll go. Someone says, I want to offer flexible working to one of my employees, but I'm worried I'll have to say yes to everyone who asks. Well, first of all, not everybody will want flexible working within your company, so for a start. But I think as long as you can demonstrate you've an open and fair culture, that employers can feel they can ask and aren't afraid to ask. And really importantly here, it's the communication. So, you know, if their request genuinely won't work for the business, and really it won't, you know, logistically, operationally, due to the business performance, whatever, as long as you've sort of shown that you've listened, you've considered properly, and you can explain and communicate transparently why, you know, the fact that you've got this culture that people can ask, it's going to stay with us. Flexible working is going to stay with us. You know, it'll be different for everyone. It's unique to different people, but it will stay with us. So
yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think I mean, people now do have the right to ask for flexible working. So whether you approve it or not, people still can ask for it. And as Tracy said, I think as long as you genuinely show that you've given it consideration and that you have tried to meet their needs, and maybe it's a meet in the middle conversation. Maybe if someone, you know, wants to be entirely remote, you have a realistic conversation with them about the demands of the role, and come to an agreement where they're remote 2 days a week or 1 day a week.
Absolutely.
But communication. In fact, we could just sit here for all of our webinars and say
it's a communication for everything. But I think that is all we've got time for. There is a huge amount of information you've shared there. Thank you, Jo. So just don't forget, everybody, we will send you a copy of the slides here and a link to the webinar again to go back to. I don't know, Jo, is there a slide there with our details on at the end?
Oh,
the
yes.
Next one, just so that people can see, contact either us or anyone in the team and we can help. But thank you so much for joining us and spending your lunch hour with us. I do hope that you found it useful. Please do follow up with us and we will send some stuff out in the next couple of days. So I hope we chat to you soon or see you on another one soon. Thank you very much.
Thanks for your time, everyone. Bye.
Bye.